The person I am today is much more attractive and desirable than the person I was 15 years ago in every possible way. What's something that completely changes a woman's level of interest in a man, other than the gym? Therapy. No joke, I'm finally getting my mess sorted out, therapy and antidepressants. I found out at 38 that I'd apparently been low-level depressed since I was like 3 or 4. High-functioning depression can come across as being an butthole. You don't even realize you're doing it, because everything is rooted to your amygdala before you're consciously aware of it. You're already emotionally reacting, way too strongly, before you're aware of the stimulus. On my first date with my now girlfriend, hottest gal I've ever dated, she drew a lot of this stuff out of me, because she's good at getting people to talk and tell her stuff, and also I tend to be a bit of an open book, and knowing my stuff and working on it was a huge green flag to her. I was afraid I was talking too much, but she was encouraging it on purpose. Somebody replied, "This is a big one." When I met my wife, I mentioned my therapist on our first date. She still mentions that she found that to be a hugely attractive quality because it meant she wouldn't have to play therapist for me. Apparently I was actively trying to better myself in a way a lot of men don't. Having a good haircut. What makes a haircut go from good to great is that it fits your face, head shape, hair type, hairline and forehead size. I was getting that typical short from the sides and slightly longer on top for years, until I decided to change it up and leave some on the sides and top as well, and I looked and felt like a completely different person. Got more confident and started getting looks from people all the time because of it. Had no idea that a different haircut could have such an impact on how I looked and felt. Books, gardening, talking about being responsible with money, goals. Women tend to like when you don't discuss intimate stuff until they bring it up. I feel like I'm doing well in this department, but my problem is that these are all things that women tend to discover about you after getting to know you at least a little. Like second or third date type of stuff. I'm not even getting first dates, so women never get a chance to find out about my good qualities unless I list them out bullet point style on a dating profile, which is never the correct answer. Being married. Getting a girlfriend is like getting a job. Once you find one, you'll get a lot more interest from both employers and women. When you're single or job hunting, no one even flinches to look at you. I think it's because of the confidence both provide, and since one is no longer trying as hard, people take notice. Learning to love myself. I was constantly beating myself up and it turned a lot of people off. I used to only do it in private, but it still affects how you behave and can easily lead to worse behavior. It requires an attitude change and some discipline, which are hard to do if you don't value yourself, but really important. Luckily I had friends to help me. Somebody replied, "Catch yourself when you do it, correct what you said, or take it back. Then focus on fixing the issue, or if you can't, move on." As an example, let's say you drop something that's someone else's, you start by calling yourself stupid. You catch yourself doing it, and stop. Apologize for beating yourself up without pity or making a scene, and try again. Instead, take responsibility and say sorry to the owner of the item, and then go on to try and fix the situation. Maybe not a good example, but I hope you can get the idea. Obviously it will take different forms depending on who you are and what your specific problems are. Job title. As a store manager in retail, very May. As a chemist, I've had far more women come around. Somebody replied, being a waiter never seemed to work in my favor, but my hang-ups around it also didn't help. Getting a career did wonders for my self-esteem, which lead to more success with women. But also, for society in general. I admire people who can shake off society's stigmas, but I couldn't, and getting a respected career changed how I interact with the world because I feel more confident because I'm now a successful man. Gold diggers. When you get a new job worth lots of money. Motorcycle got me a lot more interest, but it's a certain type of woman. Generally speaking, those were the ones still looking for adventure with a dangerous type of dude. Changing my clothing to be more in line with my earnings, for example, suits and ties, dress shirts, khakis, dropping graphic t-shirts, appropriate accessories, etc. Dropping the clean-shaven look in favor of a 5 o'clock shadow. I simply can't grow a beard, hair doesn't get long enough, and I have a few grey spots I don't like. Oh, and the number one thing that got me more women? Talking to them. Like cold approaching and asking them on dates. When people see a well-dressed person, not even in suits, mind you, they're intrigued, more likely to compliment you, and there's a good chance they want to interact with you because they like what they see. People are visual creatures. People aren't going to want to talk to you because you carry a pocket knife or compass in your pocket, Dustin. Once they initiate that interaction, boom, there's your opening to talk to a woman and possibly turn it into a date. You dress well for events like interviews. I don't know why you wouldn't dress well and put your best foot forward when you're trying to get a woman's number. Dudes here complain about not getting compliments, and they're doing absolutely nothing about it. Somebody replied, when I met my significant other, he was wearing a Western pearl snap shirt and cowboy boots. It was love at first sight. The next time I saw him, he was wearing clothes you might see a man wear at the beach. I was bummed, I won't lie. I've been supportive of anything he wears, but he knows I love a classic look. He's been buying more boots, earth tones, and pearl snaps, and asking my opinion. I wanted to own a menswear shop when I was younger, so I find it really sweet that he's asking my opinion now on his dress. Not being a constant pleaser. Not be there, do everything all day every day to make you happy sort of person. Being well groomed. Dress well. Good oral hygiene. Good haircut. Manners. Never underestimate good manners. When meeting people and especially having good table manners. Multiple interests. Museum. Art. Theater. Literature. Not being the guy that only does the bare minimum. Having some knowledge of different topics which included culture helps form a good conversation that a woman usually finds interesting. At least it's usually something they're not used to on a date. Got a lot of dates by suggesting something other than just the typical dinner date. I would suggest going to see an art exhibit in town or a new display at the museum, then a relaxed and comfortable dinner after. Even find a community play. Just something different from what women are used to being asked for the typical date. Being an engaging listener. Men think they need to be interesting when they actually could focus on being interested. Women love to be heard. Anytime I remember small details from a while ago, they are very impressed and appreciate it. Somebody replied, I have this professor in university, who has been married for like 10 years and he just makes it look so easy. Some months ago, after a year of passing his class and not being his student anymore, I passed by his office and we had a chat. I started sharing with him this very big problem I had, and told him how frustrated I was. He just pulled out a chair, sat down and listened with so much attention to my rant. He looked so invested. I was impressed and then it clicked. That's one of the reasons his marriage is so solid. The best part is he never interrupted me nor offered anything because I wasn't asking for a solution. He understood I just needed to let it out and he sat there with me. It was awesome. God, I love that guy. He's the best professor I have ever had. He just loves his job and he is damn good at it too. Being good with kids. My sister had her first son while I was a freshman in college. The number of women who would suddenly flirtatiously stare at me or come up and flirt with me after seeing me with my nephew, or later any of my nieces and nephews, was ridiculous. One time I was babysitting my nephews and went for a run with them in the stroller, and every mom, aunt, babysitter, nanny, etc. in that park stared or attempted to strike up a conversation. Listening and remembering, especially the little things. This hits on something important, being present. So many people, women are just as guilty of this as men are lost in their own lives, interests, thoughts, and phones, and aren't present with you. When you place importance and effort in being present in the moment with the person you're with, it's a game changer. You remember more, you listen better, and you are more engaging and engaged. Get out of your head and be there. Playing guitar on stage in front of a live audience. It's unbelievable. I've seen guys who looked like they just got out of jail, but they played guitar in a band and they were getting model-type looking girls just because they put out a record. This was around the early 90s. Never worked well for me though. I was a drummer. Nobody even knew what I looked like. Law school was a noticeable difference. Also, and this one really surprised me, a moustache. During Movember one year I grew a full-on handlebar moustache. It was awful. It was supposed to be a joke. Everyone started treating me differently. Women, men, everyone. It was like suddenly being promoted. Everyone kept eye contact at all times. Nobody ever interrupted me. Everyone suddenly got more polite. It was sort of like being promoted to everyone's respected old cowboy. At the end of the month I shaved off the handlebar part and just kept a creeper 80s moustache for a day or so. Very different effect. Especially with the eye contact. Somebody replied, "I can attest to the handlebar moustache part. I definitely get a lot of respect and admiration. There's always that oddball who finds it goofy, but if it is well maintained and a decent length, it always draws attention positively. Of course, you get more compliments from men, but that's obvious considering how women don't easily approach men to compliment. However, they do notice and take a second look. Once introduced, women do compliment on the moustache. Compliment that with a good hairstyle and dressing sense and you have a winning combination there. Physically, get clothes that fit you, groom yourself, beard, hair, etc., and maintain some standards of personal hygiene. Non-physically, go into every situation assuming people like you, treat them like they're already friends, and they probably will be. Spending a lot of time wondering if people like you saps your confidence. It can be a hard habit to stop, but stop it. This is definitely a difficult task, but you just have to rewire your brain. Personally, working out helped me stop overthinking and, as a consequence, helped me stop the negative self-talk. This has worked wonders for my personal development. I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm making progress. Get involved in some activity, like art, music, or building something. Play sports or go hiking. Explore. Travel. Create things. Cultivate a passion. Just get off the couch and do anything. I always attract partners due to my active lifestyle as an artist and musician. I am always productive and traveling, but eventually the excitement wears off and they resent me for not just hanging out at home with them more regularly, especially when I am home, but in my studio writing and creating all day. Ideally, an equally busy and non-code-dependent partner who is cool with just hanging out a couple times a week would be ideal. It's cliché, but confidence is key. I know my flaws, but in spite of them, I put myself out there. There is no such thing as out of your league, because people have different preferences. Even if you don't like your current self, see the value in your inner potential and let that be your guide. This applies to everything, really. Treasure is measured in units of love, so make your own hoard, but also acknowledge that people love you for certain things. Those are your strengths. Play to those. I have been happily married for a long time, so I haven't been trying to attract women. However, I have found that certain changes have impacted how women interact with me. The big one is confidence in myself and being authentically me. I grew a beard, dressed better, got a better job that I'm passionate about, became more generous and less selfish, cut back on my sarcasm and pessimism, and took on leadership roles. The person I am today is much more attractive and desirable than the person I was 15 years ago in every possible way. But that much self-improvement took time and effort. Spending more than $10 on a haircut, I'm being a bit facetious, but just getting a high-quality haircut that's both in trend and fits your face is huge. I make a point to get a haircut once every 2 to 3 weeks. Beyond that, it's just a nice pampering as a guy, and my barber always gives me a beer. Standing up straight and rolling the shoulders back a bit to help naturally puff out the chest and suck the stomach in. A lot of guys have much better physique than what they think just by working on their posture. Plus, it sets you a little taller and you come off more confident. Ignore them and give them space. It might sound like some pickup artist rubbish, but you don't have to text them back immediately. Wait an hour sometimes, wait 2 hours sometimes, wait 5 minutes others, wait a half day, and sometimes respond immediately. Generally, in regards to dating, I tend to try and stay in touch once a day between dates to keep the interest afloat, but never text good morning or good night, and rarely ask her how her day is going. If we're going to a restaurant in a week, I might hit her with just checked out the menu. About halfway through the week. Maybe I send her a pic of a cute dog or picture of a hike I'm on. Lose the obvious neediness and lose the subconscious neediness. I text her just confirming we're still on for 7 p.m. instead of are you still wanting to go, if not it's okay. I'm always assuming the date is on and she can't wait to see me, so my texts align with that matter of factly. This leads to an important point of stop checking in all day long. You don't need her attention and seeing, what are you up to? Every single day is boring. Don't be afraid to compete for her. A lot of guys take the idea of I'm awesome so far they proceed to suggest that a woman that isn't madly infatuated with them in return isn't suitable with lines like if I have to chase after you, I don't want you. Bro, any girl out there that's mildly attractive and interesting has thousands of men vying for her. Believe in yourself that you can compete for her within reason. Eventually, yeah, playing tag is better than chase, but don't be afraid to pursue what you want. Not caring so much and calculating everything. After some point in life I've just stopped caring and overanalyzing everything. It changed people's general attitude towards me. Especially when it comes to social interactions. I remember I used to overthink what I said or what I did back in the day, especially late at night before I went to sleep. I would try to be reserved in what I say or do. Now I just don't care as much. If people don't like me for who I am, then that's their loss. I feel loose and relaxed and nothing feels forced. If people don't want the good vibes that I give off, then whatever, have fun being boring and reserved. My attitude changed when I stopped looking at women as something to achieve, and started looking at them as human beings with their own wants and needs. I stopped trying to be the perfect gentleman and focused on my own needs. When I stopped putting women on a pedestal and treated them as they should be treated, like human beings, it changed how they reacted to me. I stopped trying to be the nice guy, I just did what I do when I meet somebody that I enjoy spending time with. It wasn't just the level of interest but the types of relationships I had. I went from having very poisonous one-sided relationships to having a partner that could become my best friend. Oddly enough, it also increased my casual friendships because I didn't pressure anybody on anything. I just let myself be cool and took intimacy off my table. It took a while for the mental shift, but it was a good shift I needed, since I was going down a dark path that could only end with me being with someone who would hurt me too much. I hope you enjoyed today's video and it inspired you to reflect on yourself. It is a little known fact that people who subscribe to the channel are at least 27% more attractive to the people around them. And check out the recommended video for more just like this.